My name is Ben Carter, United States Army, retired. 28 years in uniform, 3 combat tours, Iraq twice, Afghanistan once. When people thank me for my service, I nod. I don't say much back. The truth is, service cost me more than I ever expected. And this story isn't about war the way most folks think of it. It's about what war does to the people waiting at home. I was halfway through a deployment in Iraq when the Red Cross message came through. Your wife, Anna Carter, deceased. Cardiac arrest, immediate emergency leave authorized. Those words didn't make sense. They didn't fit in my head. The world went silent, like someone had shut off the sound of life itself. Anna wasn't sick. She wasn't old. She wasn't supposed to die. She had mailed me a letter just days earlier. Inside was a small drawing, roses and handwriting as soft as a whisper. Come home safe. We still have a lifetime to finish. I folded that letter and carried it in my breast pocket the entire flight home. Like if I held it close enough, she'd still be waiting when I landed. But she wasn't. That first night home, I sat alone in our bedroom. Her pillow was still indented where her head used to rest. The house smelled faintly of her perfume, rose and vanilla. I closed my eyes, breathed in deep, and for a split second, I forgot she was gone. Then reality punched me again. My son, Mark, 25 years old, had been the one handling everything while I was deployed. I knew grief hits people differently, and I wasn't ready to judge, not yet. Not when both of us were bleeding inside. But the next morning, when I went to look for Anna's things, to feel her close, to hold on to something, I opened the closet and found nothing. No clothes, no shoes, no jewelry, just emptiness. I stood there, hand on the sliding wooden door, staring at the space where her life used to hang. Mark, I called out. He walked past the hallway holding his phone, barely looking up. What happened to your mother's things? He sighed, rolled his eyes like a teenager instead of a grown man. I sold them. I blinked. You? What? You weren't here, he snapped. Someone had to make decisions. I needed the money. The room spun. Anger, grief, disbelief. They collided so fast I couldn't separate one from the other. You sold everything? Without asking me? Mark crossed his arms. You were never here anyway. Not when she got sick. Not when things got hard. So don't start acting like you get final say now. The words hit harder than enemy fire ever did. My knees gave out, and I gripped the dresser to stay upright. All I could manage was a whisper. Her necklace. The gold one. Did you sell that too? Mark looked away. Yeah, pawned it last week. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. That necklace wasn't just jewelry. It was the first gift I ever gave her. Before deployments, before rank, before life got complicated. She never took it off. Not once. It was her wedding ring in another form. I don't remember falling to the floor. I just remember the cold tile and the sound of my own heartbeat. Loud, frantic, angry. Mark walked out. Door slammed. Silence swallowed the house. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it ring out, but something told me to answer. Mr. Carter, a voice said. Older, steady. This is Paul from Riverside Pawn. Your son sold a gold pendant recently. We were cleaning it, preparing it for sale, and we found something inside. My breath caught. Inside? Yes, sir. It was sealed, hidden. Your wife must have placed it there intentionally. A pause, then his voice softened. You need to come in now. I stood slowly, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door. The world looked the same. Blue sky, children playing somewhere down the street. But I wasn't the same. I'd survived war, mortars, insurgents, IEDs. But nothing prepared me for this moment. Somewhere inside that pendant was something Anna wanted me to find. And she trusted time, fate, or God to deliver it. When I was finally home, I drove toward the pawn shop with one thought pounding in my chest. My wife left me a message, and I was finally going to hear it. I pulled into the parking lot of Riverside Pawn just before noon. The sky was pale and washed out, the kind of color you only notice on days when your mind is numb and the world feels far away. I sat in the truck for a minute, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. After 28 years in the Army, I'd walked into places far more dangerous than a pawn shop, but never with a heart this unsteady. Inside, the store was quiet, rows of shelves. Guitars hung on the far wall. A glass case of watches and rings sat near the counter. The bell over the door chimed as I entered. A man in his 60s stepped forward. Gray beard, navy jacket. His name tag read Paul. "You must be Mr. Carter." I nodded. My voice wasn't ready yet. He walked to the back counter and reached into a drawer. When he turned back around, he was holding a small velvet pouch, blue, faded from time. I recognized it immediately. Anna used to keep her necklace in that pouch when she had surgeries, MRIs, or moments she was forced to remove it. My chest tightened. Paul placed it gently on the counter. "We weren't going to open the pendant," he said softly, "but when we cleaned it, something rattled inside. That didn't seem right." My hands shook as I picked up the pouch. Inside was the necklace. Thin gold chain, simple, delicate. The pendant was oval, smooth, warm from years of her wearing it against her skin. It wasn't just jewelry, it was her. I held it carefully, my vision blurred. "Do you want privacy?" Paul asked. I nodded. He guided me to a small office near the back. No windows, just a desk and 2 chairs. He closed the door behind me. I sat and stared at the pendant, afraid of what I might find and terrified of what it meant. Finally, I pressed my thumbnail against a tiny seam along the edge. It resisted at first, then clicked open. Inside was a folded piece of paper, no bigger than a postage stamp. For a long moment, I just held it. My hands felt heavy, like I was holding my own pulse. Then I unfolded it. There were only 6 words, handwritten in her soft, looping script. "If you're reading this, I knew." I froze. The room went still. Knew what? Knew she was dying? Knew I wouldn't make it back in time? Knew something was wrong? My breath trembled. I stared at the sentence again, searching for meaning in the curves of her handwriting. A second scrap of paper, smaller, hidden behind the first, slipped free and fell onto the desk. This one held only a single date, March 12th, 3 p.m. No year, no explanation. Just a timestamp. I swallowed hard. March 12th was next week. My hands tightened around the paper. She hadn't written instructions, no apology, no goodbye. Just, "If you're reading this, I knew." And a date. It felt deliberate, planned, like she had left a final mission, one only I was meant to complete. A knock sounded at the door. "You all right in there?" Paul asked. I cleared my throat before answering. "Yeah, I just need a minute." When I finally opened the door, Paul was waiting with a clipboard. "There's something else," he said quietly. "Not from the pendant, from the sale." He handed me a receipt, Mark's signature scribbled across the bottom in rushed handwriting. Next to the item description, gold necklace, 14 karat, with engraved pendant, was a note. Paid in cash. Requested no copy. I stared at it and felt something shift inside me. Not sadness this time. Something closer to resolve. I turned to leave, but Paul stopped me. "Mr. Carter, I'm sorry for your loss." His eyes softened. "And if you don't mind me saying, it doesn't seem like your wife put that note there by accident." "No," I said quietly. "She didn't." When I stepped back outside, the weight of the necklace in my pocket felt heavier than gear, heavier than armor, heavier than anything I'd carried overseas. I climbed into my truck, rested my head against the steering wheel, and closed my eyes. For months, I thought I'd failed her by not being home. But maybe, just maybe, she'd been waiting for me after, not before. I opened my eyes, started the engine, and drove home, not with answers, but with purpose. March 12th, 3 p.m. She wanted me somewhere, and I intended to be there. March 12th came faster than I expected. The days leading up to it felt blurry, heavy. Like walking through deep mud, I spent most of the time in the house, sitting in the quiet, staring at the walls as if the answers were written there. My son, Mark, avoided me. He moved through the house like a stranger, quiet, tense, impatient. Some mornings I heard him on the phone behind closed doors. His tone was sharp, defensive. I didn't ask who he was talking to. We were both grieving, but we were not grieving together. On the morning of March 12th, I woke before dawn, old military habit. I made coffee, black, no sugar, and sat at the kitchen table with the necklace in front of me. The pendant was closed again, but I knew every line of the message by memory now. If you're reading this, I knew. March 12th, 3 p.m. I tried to interpret it logically, something the Army ingrains into you. Was it an appointment? A meeting? A key date for paperwork? A safety deposit box? A medical record? Nothing fit. Nothing made sense. At 10 a.m., I finally stood, grabbed my phone, and called her primary care physician, Dr. Morales. She'd treated Anna for years. The receptionist answered, polite but rushed. Hi, my name is Ben Carter. My wife, Anna, passed away a few months ago while I was deployed. There's something I need help with. Of course, sir. I'm sorry for your loss. What can we assist with? I found a date, March 12th, 3 p.m. I don't know what it means. Could she have had an appointment scheduled? There was a soft clicking as the woman typed, then silence. A long one. Sir, she finally said, your wife did have something scheduled for March 12th, but it wasn't a medical appointment. My pulse kicked up. Then what was it? She hesitated. It was labeled legal, private consultation. Legal? My stomach tightened. Do you know where? Yes, she replied. It's a law office downtown. Do you want me to give you the address? I wrote it down slowly, each number heavy and deliberate. Thank you, I said quietly. Before I hung up, the woman added gently, whatever this is, you were meant to find it. At 2:15 p.m., I left the house. Mark was on the couch scrolling his phone. He didn't look up. You need anything while I'm out? I asked. No, he muttered, thumb still moving. Whatever you're doing, good luck. It wasn't anger, it wasn't sarcasm, it sounded like guilt. But I didn't have room for that, not yet. The law office was a small brick building tucked between a florist and a dentist's office. No flashy sign, just a brass plate that read, Harris and Lowell, attorneys at law. Inside, the air smelled faintly of paper and lemon polish. A woman at the front desk smiled politely. Can I help you? Yes, I'm Ben Carter. I believe I have an appointment. Her expression shifted subtly. Recognition, maybe relief. Yes, Mr. Carter, we've been expecting you. Expecting me? Those words tightened something in my chest. She motioned toward a door. You can go right in. He's ready. The office was lined with bookshelves and framed certificates. Behind the desk sat a man in his 70s with steel gray hair and clear, focused eyes. Mr. Carter, he said, rising slowly to shake my hand. I'm Thomas Lowell. Sit, please. I did. He opened a thick file on his desk. My wife's name was printed across the tab. I won't waste time, he said gently. Your wife came to see me 8 months before she passed. She was worried. About what? My voice was low, tight. He folded his hands. About your son. I felt myself straighten. She wasn't afraid of him, he clarified. She was afraid for him. She believed he was making poor financial decisions. Spur-of-the-moment purchases, taking out loans he didn't mention, allowing certain influences to push him. Vanessa, I murmured. Lowell nodded. Yes. Your wife believed your son was being manipulated, and she knew you were overseas, unable to intervene. He slid a sealed envelope across the desk. This is addressed to you. She asked that it only be given today at exactly 3 p.m. I checked my watch, 3:02. My hands felt strangely heavy as I reached for the envelope. The moment I touched it, something inside me shifted. Grief, fear, maybe hope. Lowell continued softly. She said you would understand what needed to be done when the time came. I swallowed hard. Did she tell you what that meant? He shook his head kindly. No, but she trusted you. Completely. Silence filled the room, thick and reverent. Finally, he added, whatever's inside that letter, she wanted you to find it. Not earlier, not later, now. I stared at the envelope. Her handwriting was unmistakable. Soft curves, precise strokes. My thumb hovered over the seal. My heart felt like a drum against my ribs. Then, slowly, steadily, I opened it. The paper inside the envelope was neatly folded, just like the one hidden in the pendant. But this one was heavier, thicker, the kind meant to last. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Her handwriting filled the page, steady, graceful. I could hear her voice with every curve of ink. Ben, if you're reading this, then you survived everything I was afraid you wouldn't. And I'm gone. I prayed you'd never need this letter, but God had his plan. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to keep going. First, I want to say this plainly. I never doubted you. Not for a second. You served because it was who you are. Not because you loved us less. I knew that. I always knew that. I closed my eyes. Those were words I didn't realize I'd been waiting years to hear. I kept reading. I've been sick longer than I let on. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to focus on staying alive, not worrying about what you couldn't control from another continent. I thought I had more time. I was wrong. My grip tightened on the page. A dull ache spread through my chest. She'd been fighting alone. While I carried a weapon overseas, she carried fear at home, and no one saw hers. There's something more, Ben, something I couldn't ignore. Our son is lost. Not permanently, I don't believe that, but lost enough to be led by people who don't love him the way we do. My jaw clenched. He's angry at you. Angry that you served. Angry that the world didn't stop so he could feel safe. He doesn't understand your sacrifice because he never saw the burden, only the distance. She knew him better than either of us admitted. Before I died, I found out something disturbing. The woman he's dating, Vanessa, has been encouraging him to take loans in his name. She's already dipped into his accounts. He thinks it's love. It isn't. It's dependency disguised as devotion. I felt heat rise in my chest. Anger, grief, fear. So I made preparations. The legal appointment you're sitting in right now was one of them. I looked up. Lowell gave a small nod, confirming he already knew his role was mostly delivery, not explanation. I returned to the letter. The necklace wasn't just sentimental. It's a key. Inside the pendant is a bank safety deposit box number. The branch is listed on the back of the pendant. My heart lurched. I grabbed the necklace from my pocket and turned it over. There it was, etched so small I'd missed it. Ridgeview Federal Bank. Box 214. I continued reading. Inside that box is what Mark needs, not what he wants. Proof of what's happening. Records, screenshots, audio, a paper trail Vanessa hoped he'd never see. I exhaled slowly. Anna hadn't just suspected. She had evidence. You're the only one who can get him to face it. He won't listen to me, not anymore, but he will hear you. One day. Maybe not right away, maybe not kindly, but eventually. My throat tightened, and when he breaks, Ben, don't turn away. He will need you more in that moment than he's ever needed you in his life. I blinked hard, vision blurring again. The final paragraph felt heavier than the rest. My love, you've carried a nation. You've carried brothers in arms. You've carried memories no civilian will ever understand. But now I'm asking you to carry something harder, our son's future. Don't give up on him, even when he gives up on himself. I'll be with you, always. Anna. When I finished, I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just let the silence hold me. Lowell finally cleared his throat. She was a remarkable woman, he said softly. She was everything, I whispered. He slid another document toward me, a notarized authorization. This gives you full access to the safety deposit box. She wanted you to have it today. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back into the envelope, then slipped Anna's necklace over my head. The gold rested against my chest, the way it rested against hers. For the first time since coming home, I felt something other than grief. Purpose. I stood. Thank you, I told Lowell. If you ever need anything, he replied, you come back here. Outside, the sun was beginning to set, orange streaks stretching across the sky. I pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered. Then I typed, Mark, we need to talk. Tonight. No arguments. His reply came fast. Fine. I started the truck, feeling the weight of the mission ahead. I'd survived war. But now, I had to save my son from a battle he didn't even know he was fighting. That night, the house felt different, like something heavy was sitting in the air. Waiting, Mark stood in the living room when I walked in, arms crossed, jaw tight. He didn't ask where I'd been. He didn't ask about the envelope or the necklace, but his eyes flicked toward the gold pendant around my neck. So he knew, or at least suspected. I sat down across from him. No yelling, no authority voice, just a father trying to reach his son. "We need to talk about your mother," I said quietly. His expression hardened, but he didn't interrupt. "She knew more than she let on," I continued. "She knew she was sick. She knew you were struggling, and she knew someone was taking advantage of you." His shoulders twitched, barely noticeable, but I caught it. "Don't," he muttered. "Don't start attacking Vanessa. You don't even know her." "No," I said softly, "but your mother did." That froze him. I placed the letter on the table. "Mom wrote this. For us. Not just for me." He stared at it like it was a weapon. After a long silence, he muttered, "I don't want to read it." "I know," I replied, "but you need to." He shook his head. "I already know what it'll say. That I'm a disappointment. That I didn't do enough. That I wasn't enough." His voice cracked, not with anger but fear. And suddenly everything made sense. He wasn't careless. He wasn't selfish. He was drowning. And he thought no one saw. I leaned forward. "Your mother never once saw you as a disappointment. She believed in you more than anyone. Even when you stopped believing in yourself." That hit him differently. His jaw trembled. I slid the envelope closer. "Read her words, not the ones you've been telling yourself." Slowly, like his hands weighed 50 pounds each, he opened it. His eyes scanned the first line, then the second by the fourth. His breath hitched. And then he broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a slow collapse. Shoulders folding inward, eyes squeezed shut, tears slipping down his face like he'd been holding them for years. I sat with him, quiet, waiting. Finally he whispered, "She knew. She really knew." "Yes," I said. "She knew everything." He wiped his face with his sleeve. "Dad, I messed up." "I know. I sold her things. I shouldn't have. I panicked. We were behind on bills and Vanessa said—" His sentence stumbled. "That she'd help?" I finished for him. He nodded. "Son," I said gently, "love never demands blind loyalty. Love doesn't isolate. It doesn't control, and it sure as hell doesn't drain your savings." He swallowed hard. "What happens now?" I reached into my pocket and placed the key to the safety deposit box on the table. "Now," I said, "we go together." The next morning we walked into Ridgeview Federal Bank side by side. Not as a father dragging his son, but as two people facing something painful but necessary. The box held exactly what Anna promised. Printed bank statements, loan applications, text messages, screenshots, voice recordings, enough evidence to make the truth undeniable. Mark's hands shook as he flipped through the papers. "Why did she do all this?" he whispered. "Why didn't she tell me?" "She wasn't trying to trap you," I said. "She was trying to protect you, even from yourself." He nodded slowly. We left in silence. 2 weeks later, Mark broke things off with Vanessa and filed a fraud report. It wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. She screamed, threatened, begged, cursed, every stage of desperation exposed. But Mark held firm. Not because of me, because of her, because of the woman who still guided us, even from beyond this life. Months passed. The house changed too. He framed one of her photos in the living room. Sometimes I'd hear him talking to her, soft, unsure, trying to rebuild the connection he thought was gone forever. And slowly, piece by piece, we rebuilt ourselves too. Grief didn't disappear. It never does. But it softened. And one quiet evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, the same colors she loved, Mark spoke. "Dad?" "Yeah?" He took a breath. "Thanks for not giving up on me." I looked at him, really looked, and felt something in my chest loosen. "I made a promise," I said, "to love this family, even when it hurt." He nodded and whispered, "Mom would be proud." I touched the pendant resting against my chest. A soft breeze moved through the yard, And for the first time since returning home, I believed him.